Good morning, beloveds. It's a quiet day. It's a cool day. It actually said it was 63 when we got up. And that is more than 10 degrees cooler than it was yesterday. Or maybe it was 68 yesterday. Point is, it's in the low 60s, which is really, really nice. It's also September 11th. And I just glanced at the title just to see what it was. Because it's the 20th anniversary of September 11th. And I have family in New York. My husband's family, they all live up there. I had a cousin living up there as well at the time, and so it's a different day. Everybody has connections to it in one way or another. My mother was on an airplane that day. She was headed for Florida for a work thing, flying from San Antonio to Florida. So there were a few hours we didn't know where she was, and as it is, it was 20 years ago. She had a BlackBerry, and the cell towers were all crazy. But she was able to use her BlackBerry to touch base with a work person, a guy that she worked with, who then called, all of us to let us know where she was. She got grounded in Atlanta. So whatever else you do today, if there are emotions, strong emotions, sit with them. Sit with them. Don't stuff them. Don't stuff them. Let them be what they are. We went for a nice long bike ride today, and we talked about it while we were biking, my husband and I, because, it's his family up there in that area. And we talked about it. And honestly, that's why we don't have the TV on right this morning, because he had it on this morning and that's what they were talking about. And so it's like, TV's not on, may not turn it on at all today. We'll see. We're also, probably going to stay. Well, we both have things to do. He's going to go to work and I'm going to go do some painting up at the booth at the Renaissance Festival. So, we're going to stay off the social media as well. But, be with your feelings, whatever they are. Be with your feelings. Because we all had different experiences. And nobody's experience is any more of value than anybody else's. I don't think that's exactly the word I want. I mean, even if you didn't have a direct experience with it, you still experienced it. It was a collective trauma. It was a collective trauma. And yes, 20 years have gone by, and, if you haven't worked on it, maybe now's the time. All right. But we are still here for 365 days of richer living, so let's do that. It is September 11th. Our title is I Bear the Stamp of Individuality. And our quote is, "It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body." And that is from 1 Corinthians 15, and it's 44 and 45. Life has set the stamp of individuality on your soul. You are different from any other person who has ever lived. You are an individualized center in the consciousness of God. You are an individualized activity in the action of God. You are you. And you are eternal. Therefore, do not wait for immortality. The resurrection of life is today. Begin to live today as though you are an immortal. Begin to live today as though you are an immortal being and all thought of death, all fear of change will slip from you. You will step out of the tomb of uncertainty into the light of the eternal day. Say, I know that every apparent death is a resurrection. Therefore, I gladly die to everything that is unlike the good. Joyfully, I am resurrected into that which is a beautiful, enduring, and true. Silently, I pass from less to more, from isolation into inclusion, from separation into oneness. Today, realizing that there is nothing in my past which can rise against me, nothing in my future which can menace the unfoldment of my experience. I know that life shall be an eternal adventure. I revel in the contemplation of the immeasurable future, the path of eternal progress, the everlastingness of our own being, the ongoing of my soul, the daily renewed energy and action of that divinity within me, which has forever set the stamp of individualized being on my mind. So, of course, today is the day we're going to talk about immortality. But one of the cornerstones of science of mind teaching is that there's a part of us that has always been, and that part of us will always be, because we're part of something bigger. There's, as he said, a stamp. We have been cut out of the consciousness, shaped out of the consciousness of spirit, and that spirit, then we're still connected to it, but we're individual. This part of us, this is material, and it is a vehicle. It is what we use to get around and do, to have the experiences, to expand the part of us that is forever, for a time being. And then we will, when it is time, when we have learned what we have come to learn, we will shed this part of us, and we will go back into the consciousness with the knowing that we're diving back into the pool, but we're still going to be our own individual drop in that pool. We're just going to be a little more enmeshed, and then who knows what happens, because we don't know. But it's the knowledge that it's not even the knowledge, it's the faith that there's something beyond this that lets us let go of the fear and let go of the uncertainty, because we believe in a God of love. We believe in a God of good. We believe in a spirit of good. And we believe that that spirit wants us to continue. And so in some form we will, just not this one. Just not this one. So no one ever truly, and immediately Star Wars pops up into my head, no one ever really dies. Because when you look at Star Wars, that's what they say. No one ever truly dies. No one ever truly leaves. They go back into the Force. The Force is just another word for what we call spirit. It's the life force of every living thing. So when we go back to that, we still retain who we were. We retain all of those experiences. And then we go on to the next, whatever that looks like. And continue on. And it lessens the fear, and it lessens the uncertainty, and it allows us to live more fully now. It allows us to live more fully now, because we recognize who we are, what we're here to do, and then we do, and then when it's time to go, we can go without regret. I'm not going to say without sadness, because there's always going to be sadness. We are going to be sad to be leaving behind, because we don't know how much interaction we're going to have with the people we're leaving behind. We're always sad when people leave us behind. I'm getting ready to go to my aunt's memorial, and so I was thinking about that, and We're sad that she's not with us any longer, but we have faith in knowing that there will be a time we'll be together again. What it'll look like, who knows? But we'll be together again. And that makes it easier. That makes it easier. So I bear the stamp of individuality. All right. So the quote from Corinthians, it is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. So right now we know who we are in this body, but there is a spiritual body. There is a natural body, there is a spiritual body. The spiritual body is what will continue on. Your spiritual body has always been. Your spiritual body will always be. That is how we interact with the divine. That is that divine mind. That is why we can know what we shouldn't know. Because we're connected to something greater. We're plugged into a much bigger network through that spiritual body. That spiritual body that is animating the material vehicle. So life has set the stamp of individuality upon your soul. You are different from any other person who has ever lived. You are an individualized center of consciousness in God. You are an individualized center of consciousness in God. So you are God consciousness. Right here, right now. You are an individualized activity in the action of God. Bears out my comment of you are God in action. You are an individualized center of God consciousness in action right here, right now. You are here to do God's work simply because of who you are, what you were made from. You are here to do God's work. And God's work is exactly what you're doing now. It's not anything high and mighty and righteous and, whatever. God's work is exactly what you're doing right now. Right now. You are having experiences, and that is God's work. You are you, and you are eternal. That sounds very Dr. Seuss. You are you, and you are eternal. Therefore, do not wait for immortality. The resurrection of life is today. Begin to live today as though you are an immortal being, and all thought of death and all fear of change will slip from you. If you are immortal now, then live. I think it's Oscar Wilde, but who says everybody dies, but not everybody lives. If we remember that we have a spiritual body that will continue on after this, then we can live now. We can go and do. We can go and do God's work. We can go and have those experiences. We can go and be. We are human beings, not human doings. So resting is part of God's work. Just because it says work doesn't mean you have to labor. God's work is also resting. God's work is listening. God's work is just being. As Reverend Patty likes to say, sometimes you just have to sit with the bear. And today is a good day to go sit with the wounded bear. Especially if that wounded bear is you. If you can't tell, Reverend Patty taught the pastoral care classes. She was very good. Very good. You will step out of the tomb of uncertainty and into the light of the eternal day. All right, so power statements are treatments. I know that every apparent death is a resurrection. Therefore, I gladly die to everything that is unlike the good. And it sounds weird and it sounds strange and sometimes it's kind of creepy to say I die to everything that is unlike the good. But sometimes we have to let go of stuff that's not for us. Sometimes we have to kill off parts of us that no longer serve us. We have to surgically remove them to be who we want to be, not who we have been told to be who we want to be who we really are at the core of us, which, let me remind you, right here, right now, you are a beloved child of God. That is who you are. Don't let anybody tell you different. Joyfully, I am resurrected into that which is beautiful, enduring, and true. What you are is beautiful, enduring, and true. It's up to you to recognize it. Because we can see it in you. But it is up to you to recognize it yourself. Because we will sit there and see it until you're ready to see it yourself. Silently, I pass from less to more, from isolation to inclusion, from separation into oneness. And that's the important thing, from separation into oneness. Because the separation is an illusion. The oneness is truth. We are all one. We have the stamp of individuality, but we are plugged into a great, infinite, amazing, eternal network. The separation was always an illusion. Today, realizing that there is nothing in my past which can rise against me, there is nothing that we have done in the past that can get in the way of our future. Nothing in my future which can menace the unfoldment of my experience. So no matter what experiences I have had, no matter what experiences I will have, I will still go on. You will still go on. There's nothing that can stop that. I know that life shall be an eternal adventure. We've talked about it as a spiritual adventure, and now he's adding on to the spiritual adventure. It is an eternal adventure. It will always be an adventure. There will always be something new to learn. There will always be a new experience to have. There will always be new centers of consciousness to meet. And we'll get to meet up with the centers of consciousness that we have grown to know and love. I know that life shall be an eternal adventure. I revel in the contemplation of the immeasurable future, the path of the eternal progress, the everlastingness of our own being, the ongoing of my soul, the daily renewal of energy and action that the divinity within me, which has forever set the stamp of individualized being on my mind. That's a lot. Daily renewal of energy. Daily renewed energy. And sometimes we need that. Because sometimes we wake up and go, really? I don't want to do this. Well, Spirit will daily renew our energy if we're ready. So, you are an individualized center of God consciousness. You are an individualized activity of the action of God. You are God in motion. You are God in action. You are Spirit. We are not a drop in the ocean. We are the entire ocean contained in a drop. That would be Ruby. So, may the Force be with you. Because you are part of the Force. Our mission today, should we choose to accept it? Oof. You know what? It's September 11th. Our mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to be with ourselves. To be fully present with who we are, with what we have gone through, with what we have experienced. And to plug that in to the network. And to recognize that everybody has been through this. That everybody has a connection to this day. And that no one is alone in that connection. And whatever it is that you felt today, 20 years ago, if you still feel it today, it's valid. It's valid. And know that you're loved. Know that you're loved. So I would encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever that looks like. Especially today. Especially today. Rest. Take a break from social media. Take a break from watching the TV. Go read a good book. Or, if it so moves you, go to one of the memorials. I'm sure that they are happening all over the world, all over the country. You know, go and be with that. I am going to go and paint a booth at the Renaissance Festival. So I'm going to go get my stuff, get my act together and go do that. As I always do, I encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body. Go be with nature today. Go take a walk in the woods. Go get your face full of sun first thing in the morning. 5-10 minutes. Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven now. It is all around you. Some days it may take a little more looking to see it. Please do. The effort is always worth it. The effort is always worth it. And remember that you're a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased, always and forever. That is our state of grace. Always. Always. Freely given. Freely given. All right, beloveds. I gotta go find a shirt that I don't mind getting paint on. So do what you need to do to take care of yourself, drink plenty of water, have a fantastic day, an amazing day, a great day, a good day. If that is too much pressure, simply have a day. Know that you are loved. Know that you are loved. Reverend David will be back on around 5 p.m. on Facebook Live. You can always catch us on the YouTubes, the Creative Life Spiritual Center, and the Running Rev Ryan, just to see what we've been up to. All right, beloveds. Take care of yourself. Until next time.